Okay. I think we can all agree that learning a language isn't a linear process, except we can't. A lot of people, including my past self, believe that progress in learning a language is a linear thing. You know, you're always going to have steady and consistent progress. The more effort and more time goes by, more results and closer to fluency you will be. While there's some truth to that, I don't think that's the whole picture. And today, drawing from my own experience, I wanted to add a little bit to that picture and give you la madre. And give you a more general and real picture. So first of all, I think progress in and of itself, it's a big concept. So I like to think of it in terms of breakthroughs. I've realized that there are three main breakthroughs that I have while learning a language. The first one is being able to understand and make sense of the language. The second one is being able to make up some sentences of my own without relying on scripts or made up expressions. And the third one is definitely that kind of unconscious stage where you're kind of interacting with the language without really thinking too much or translating too much. And then in between these ones and from that on, there are these little breakthroughs and aha moments that are just as important as these main ones. But for me, it's just kind of the broader picture of like, okay, first breakthrough, understanding. Second breakthrough, being able to generate some sort of, trying to communicate. And the third one is kind of being in a flow where you're just having a conversation and not thinking about the language too much. And then in between and from that, you have just little moments that keep you going. However, even if you take progress as breakthroughs, I don't think this nonlinearity is that obvious. I think it's really subtle. And interestingly, over time, you realize that it's more cyclical than what we think. Like if 5 years ago, someone would have told me that I would be going back to the basics of French grammar or having to rememorize some of the words that I've memorized years ago, I would be laughing very hard. But this just goes to show how it's not really linear. You have to go back and forth every time. And also I feel like every cycle you make, you come back with just a deeper understanding and it just clicks in places that it couldn't click before. It's really interesting. And another thing that I don't really like to admit a lot is the importance of breaks. Because I sometimes go very hardcore with my hobbies, it's kind of hard for me to take a break. It's almost like not an option. But I've learned the hard way almost how well the brain processes information in periods of rest after being in a really active and intense mode of studying or learning. For example, last year I went really hardcore, of course, on my Hungarian. I even moved to the country, started studying it, blah, blah, blah. It was my main thing. And I was just obsessed with it. I was asking the teacher for a lot of extra homework and I was drilling grammar like there was no tomorrow. I stopped listening to music for a couple of months and every time you would sit with me with my headphones, I was listening to some sort of podcast in Hungarian. And then I tried to read a lot as much as I could because I was very slow, very bad at it. Like in general, I feel like I'm a decently social person when I want to. So I was trying to put myself out there by just going out, going to meetups, trying to find people with whom I could have a language exchange. So I was doing a lot. I was overdoing it. And my teacher obviously took notice of this because I was getting very, very frustrated with progress not getting faster and not improving at the pace that I unrealistically wanted to improve. And my teacher decided to give me as homework for the Christmas break to rest. She literally told me, your only homework is to rest. Please do so. So I reluctantly took her advice and decided to not do anything Hungarian related for almost 2 or 3 weeks. I don't remember exactly. And when I came back and I started speaking in class, it was just like magic. Like words were flowing out of my mouth in a way that I cannot explain it. And I think that this further explains how learning a language isn't linear, because if it would be linear, imagine I would have worked even harder in that break. I would have definitely ruined my whole like flow experience, so to speak, because I let my brain process. Breaks are part of the process and very important ones. And if you think about it, muscles grow the same way. Like they don't grow while you're exercising, they grow while you're resting, provided you put the work in. Maybe that's why it's called a breakthrough, because you have to take a break and then go through. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyways. And yeah, I just think as language learners, we have to be aware that this active, intense modes of studying or learning are just as important as the rest and pause kind of moments. Or maybe you were aware of it. I'm usually a slow processor. Like I feel like it takes a while for me to understand how things go. And talking about that, you also need the power of hindsight to understand that you're making progress. And that, of course, only comes with patience. Like now a year has gone by, I can see that all the effort I was putting in, it wasn't in vain, of course, but I really needed a rest. And I can see the ways in which I was progressing that at the time I wasn't aware of it. Like I even got a tattoo which literally says patience in Hungarian, just because, and it also, it made a lot of sense with another thing that I was experiencing at the same time of, let's just say that I learned an important lesson last year, you know, with Hungarian and with about life in general. But it's interesting because thinking a little bit about this process of growing, like you're growing in this language, right? I started thinking about how plants and flowers grow naturally at a very slow pace, and yet we admire that growth. We admire that pace, and we are very aware of that natural rhythm. And yet we cannot understand that ourselves also grow in seasons, you know? Like we grow in seasons. We have our own rhythms, our own time. Like why can I not have the joy I get from seeing a flower grow with myself? You know, why can't I be enjoying this kind of slow-paced journey? Like, are we really that disconnected from nature? Anyways, as a final thought, I wanted to mention that besides being aware of this nonlinearity, having patience, and taking proper breaks, there are two little devils that you should be aware of when thinking about progress in language learning. So comparison is the thief of joy. That's what they say. And it's a cliche, but I believe that cliches hold up over time because they have some truth to them. Maybe the reason why you're not making progress isn't because of the reasons mentioned above, but maybe it's because you're being bombarded with people on the internet becoming fluent in 3-6 months. I consider myself to be a calm and zen person in general, but this is a topic that specifically, you know, triggers me. Like someone being fluent in 3 months, 6 months. Maybe if it's a Spanish person speaking Italian, I can buy that. Or a Spanish person speaking Valencian, Catalan, okay. I don't know what fluent means, but if fluent to you means completely butchering the language, sure, you're fluent. And you know, I'm saying this in this kind of a mean way, just because if you're claiming to be fluent in my native language in 3 months, supposedly, and then at the end of the video, you're going to sell me something, I am going to judge you. And I'm sorry to get mean, but I've seen some people talk in these videos and I cannot understand them. I cannot understand, like, you're fluent in Spanish. I don't, is that what fluent means to you? The thing is, if this type of videos didn't affect the way new learners, let's say, viewed or perceived the process of learning a language, or if it didn't affect someone's bank account, I wouldn't have a problem with it, okay? You do whatever you want with your fluent, whatever. You can identify it as you want. I don't care. If you want to be someone who's fluent in Spanish in 3 months, even if I don't believe that's the case, it doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter. But I think we could all benefit a little bit more with titles being more like, my progress after 3 months of learning this language. My progress after blah, 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 blah of learning a language, not become fluent in 90 days. The thing is, I've been learning English for almost 10 years, ever since high school. And these kind of videos make me feel so stupid because these people are fluent in 90 days. And here I am, 10 years studying a language to be just like them. And I think about myself finding a new hobby, let's say, and you go to YouTube every time you have a new hobby. That's how it is. And if I didn't know what was going on, I was very new to the concepts and everything that was going on in this community. Everyone is supposed to be fluent in 3-6 months, blah, blah, blah. After how much time I would quit my hobby? Probably after 3-6 months, because I'm not seeing any progress. So that means I must be stupid. I'm not made for learning languages. It's not that you're not made for languages. It's just that progress is very individual, first of all. And second of all, it's just not like, how 3 months or 6 months is just so in the beginning of learning a language? Or I don't know, maybe I have a different approach to them. But, like when I think about learning a language or being serious about a hobby, I'm just like, okay, this is a lifestyle change. What is a lifestyle change? Like how much progress can you make in 3 months, 6 months? Like, I don't know. Now that I am a creator and I see how these things kind of work, I feel like you have a responsibility as a content creator to be honest. Not for yourself, but for the people that are watching you. Like, I don't want people to get the wrong impression about my learning journey. I don't want to be lying about the amount of effort I've put into it. I don't want to be playing gimmicks in order to seem like I'm speaking the language better than I am. And like even these videos, I don't have a problem saying it. Like sometimes I have a hard time pronouncing certain things in English or in whatever language I'm speaking. Sometimes I make cuts. Sometimes I edit my videos. I try to give a real approach. There's someone at my door. Anyways, I try to give a real approach, and I think that's how it should be. Like if this kind of videos, as I said, didn't affect anyone, that would be fine, because I think it can be so frustrating to just be struggling with something and seeing that other people don't have any problem with them. Oh no, it's just easy. Oh, you just do this in 90 days and boom. I believe that you can take 3 months or 6 months and be really serious and really about it and improve greatly. I've done it, and I have this moment of active mode and more kind of chill therapeutic way of thinking about languages. But just, I'm so tired of get fluent in X days. No, get fluent maybe in X years. And related to this, if comparison can be the thief of joy, I think that ambition can be the thief of passion. I've definitely felt it. As I said, I was going a little bit too hard. And now that I think about it, I don't know if I can call it progress if I'm starting to hate what I'm doing. When the soul leaves the body and you're just doing things for the sake of doing, I don't like that. And I think that was such a great lesson to take from last year. Like, you really have to have some limits of where your ambitions are and where your passion for the language. I think having too much ambition can really mess with your love for the language, because, my main objective or my main aim in the beginning was like, okay, I want to speak to my grandma in her native language. I've already done that. I'm already doing it. And then, sometimes that's the thing with progress. You've already passed your previous goal, but you're not even aware of it because it's just a moving target that you have to set for yourself. And that's why I think some kind of tracking is good, or just some reflection. I used to have like a language journal. I don't really have it that much, but I kind of keep a little bit of track from time to time, where I'm at, how I'm feeling, try to speak to different language partners and test my skills. Don't track just by how you feel, but actually put your skills to the test. And I had to remind myself last year that the reason I'm learning language isn't just to have some certificate or just to brag about it, but to me it's really important, the connection to other people, connection to myself. That was the real motivator and driver from doing this from the very beginning. If not, that's another thing. If you don't have a really good reason to do something, like, this is a long journey, it's ups, it's downs. And I don't know if the way we're thinking about progress as an upward line, it's so correct. Maybe it's just a forward line, you know? Sometimes you just stop learning a language for a couple of months, and that's fine. Last year I stopped really learning French so I could focus on my Hungarian. Some years ago I stopped learning Hungarian. I didn't touch any Hungarian because I was just focused on my French. And sometimes you just, well, I don't see my life not being in contact with these languages, because at this point it's just my identity. Like, that would be very depressive to not, like, to listen to things only in Spanish and to read only in Spanish. That would be pretty boring. I guess my point was also to make you understand that progress is very individual, and you really have to have your own standards of what progress means to you. Maybe you've seen some show a couple of years ago, it was very hard, and now you see it again, and it's very comprehensible. Like, you can understand everything, and that's progress. And I think every little win should be celebrated. And yeah, make standards for yourself of what progress is. Don't let YouTube tell you what progress really is. And that's all I got. I hope this helped you somehow. I hope you can help someone, and I will see you in the next one.